Right now, we are going to be talking about loops. What are the Python loops? Let's take a look. So, as the name says, a loop is doing something over and over and over again. Before, we have talked about the while one loop, which was an infinite loop, right? So we would have multiple line of codes and we would be repeating them forever. Now, it's a good idea to implement a very small application for loops, which is a counter. We want to be able to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up until any number we say. Now, so far we have learned that we can do that by saying print 1, print 2, but this is not really practical. We want a way to do that. And the way to do that is by using something called the for loop. Let's see how we can program a for loop. Let's say that we want to print the numbers between 0 up to 100. Okay? How can we do that? We would say for, and we need to specify something called a counter. This counter value will change and sweep in between a certain range. So if we say for I, then we say in range, what is the range I want to sweep? Between 0 and 100. We put a column like that, and all we need to do is just print I. What's happening here? As I said, this is the counter. This counter value will change for every iteration. So in the first loop, the I will be 0. It will execute this, and then its value will increase and go back here. Now I equals 1. It will execute this, so it will be printing I, which is 1 now. Then it will loop again. Now it will be incremented by 1. Now I is equal to 2. Again, print what is I, it's 2, it will print 2. And so on and so forth until we reach 100. We will print 100 and we will exit. Now let us see what's going to happen. And as you can see, we have printed everything from 0 to 99, but we did not print 100. Because the print here is actually this value minus 1. So if you want to print all the way to 100, you need to specify this to be 101. Okay, now if we do this again, as you can see, we are printing from 0 to 100. Now, we don't usually use loops for such applications. What we really use loops for is to iterate, let's say, over a list. So let's define a list, and I'm going to call it L, and this L is going to have the following elements: apples, bananas, and strawberry. Okay, so we have strawberries, bananas, and apples. Now, how can we print all of these, but one by one? You know, before we've said that if we want to print a list, we just say print L. Okay, now let me remove this. If I print, I'm getting the list itself with the brackets, but I'm not printing the individual elements. What if I want to extract every individual element? Well, we also have learned that we can access them by index. So if we say print L0, we would be getting apples. This is great. We are extracting them, but if we want to extract all of them and print them separately, we would need to do something like that. Print L1 and again print L2, right? This is a lot of code and this is not really practical. What we can do instead is say the following: for. Now let's create a placeholder that will, while we are looping, it will keep the value of every element in every single loop. So for, let's say element, and we say in L. So what do we mean by that? What we are saying is, for every element that is stored in L, what is L? This is L, this whole list. And now, since we will be looping for every element, how many elements do we have? We have 3. So we will be looping 3 times over this list. We will be, in the first loop, we will be taking apples, so element will equal apples. In the second loop, element will equal bananas, and in the third loop, element will equal strawberries. Okay, so now if I say print element itself, and I remove these, as you can see, I got the same output, but with shorter code. Now imagine I have hundreds of these. I can loop over all of them simply by doing that. Did you get how for loop works? Just an element that will extract every element inside the list. It will store it inside it for every loop, and we are just printing whatever it's storing in that specific loop. Okay? Now, let's do another practical application. Let's say that I have an array that has numbers which are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And for some reason, I want to shift all of these numbers by 2. See what I mean here? Every number, I want to make it plus 2. So I want to change this to 3. This will be 5. Here it will be 7. Here it will be 9. And here it will be 11. Okay? So how can we do that? Well, we simply loop over it and we increase every element by 2. So we would say for element in A, so get every element in A, and we are going to say element is equal to element plus 2. Now if we try to print element, we would get 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. That's great. We have done that. But what we are doing here is not actually storing or replacing these values in A. So right now, if I print A, the value will not really change. Let's take a look. As you can see, the value of A is still as it is. Why? Because this is a separate variable actually, and we are just changing this variable and printing it. But we are not changing the elements inside A. So how can we really change the elements inside A? Well, we can do that by using the method we used before in the counter. So we would say something like for I in range. What is my range here? Well, it's from 0. But what is my max number? I mean, I want to change the value of each element of this list, but I really don't know what is the length of my list. So I would say len of A. Okay? Remember, we've talked about len. Len of A is going to be replaced by how many elements do I have here. In my case, I have 5. So it's the same as saying 0 to 5. Okay? But since my list length could change, I would make it dynamic by just saying until the len of A. Okay? What do I want to do? I want to change every element value in here. How would I do that? Well, AI is equal to AI plus 2. What do I mean by that? How can I translate this to English? Well, again, we are going to be looping through all of this list one by one. But we are looping through a counter, right? So what we are saying here, we are saying I is going to sweep a value between 0 and 5. Take a look. If I right here is 0 in the first loop, it will be A0 equals to A0 plus 2. What is A0? Well, it is 1. So I'm saying this element here, I want its value to change to A0, which is 1, plus 2. So let's replace A0 with the real value. It is 1 plus 2. So I'm saying, hey, my A0, I want it to equal to 1 plus 2, which is 3. Okay, now let's continue. The next loop, we're done with the 0. We will increment this by 1. So right now, I is equal to 1. So it's A1 plus A1. What is A1? A1 is actually this element, right? And it equals to 3. So this will be like replace A1, which is this element, with this new value, which is 5. Okay? And we will go like that. So let's say that we reached 4. So A4 equals A4. change the value of A4, this one, to A4 value, which is 9 plus 2, meaning 11. So now this will be 9 plus 2, it will be 11. Okay, so right now, if we just print the whole A array, we will have an updated list, as you can see here. So this is how we modify values of a list. If you have questions, please ask them in the Q&A. And if you like this series so far, please hit on like and subscribe for more easy to understand content.